שירו לאדוני, שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני, כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני,
Nine 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 nine, yai di 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 di, yai di 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 di, yai di 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 di, yai di 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 di, yai
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Our Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, begins with the death of Sarah. And while we hear of Abraham's mourning and the preparations he makes to lay her to rest, we also read of how he prepares for his son's future, sending his servant Eliezer to find Isaac a bride, and finds comfort too in his final years. We see that there are many seasons to our lives. As Rabbi Chaim Stern writes, a time to mourn and a time to accept, a time to rage against the fading of the lights, and a time to kindle another light. As we prepare to welcome the light of Shabbat into our midst, we too are aware of the ups and downs of life. We recognize that there is evil in the world, yet we can take comfort from the kindness, love, and support we receive from others as well. Let this time we have together give us comfort, strengthen our sense of community and connection, heighten our gratitude for the blessings that are part of our life. We're so glad you're all here with us, whether you are visitors, our friends from our Jewish Federation of San Antonio, all of you who are here to celebrate with us. We turn to page 3 in our Sidurim and our prayer books as we make ready to welcome Shabbat with light, and it's my pleasure to call up all of the Nassets, yes? All right, Chantel, Zach, Zoe, and Chase to lead us in the readings before the blessings.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
No, you don't do that. You don't do that.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
We turn now to page 5 as we sanctify Shabbat with Kiddush.
No, you're great. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit ki hu yom techila lemikrahe kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim ki vanu vacharta ve'otanu kidashta mikol hamim Beshabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
L'chaim.
L'chaim.
We turn to page 16 in our prayer books as we welcome Shabbat with song Zamru L'Adonai Bechinor. It is the very top. There we go.
Light, 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 Zamru l'Adonai, Zamru l'Adonai behino, Zamru l'Adonai behino v'chol zimra. Zamru l'Adonai, Zamru l'Adonai behino, Zamru l'Adonai behino v'chol zimra.
We turn to page 22 and Psalm 92 on our third line down, Tov lehodot l'Adonai.
Mizmor shir leyom hashabbat, Tov lehodot l'Adonai uzamer L'shimcha elyon, Tov lehodot l'Adonai uzamer L'shimcha elyon, lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha balilot Lehagin baboker חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, טוב להודות לאדוני וזמר לשמך העליון. טוב להודות לאדוני וזמר לשמך העליון.
Turn back with us to page 20 as we make ready to welcome the Sabbath bride, that Shabbat spirit that we make real when we sing together as one. Join us in verses 1 and 2, 5 and 9. And when we reach verse 9, Bo'ih v'shalom, we rise as a congregation, turning to face the entrance of our sanctuary, beckoning that Sabbath bride to join us, which will only happen if you sing, whether you're here in the sanctuary or you're joining us on live stream. Your voice, your spirit, your presence, they're essential to make Shabbat real. Sing.
לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו, המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשמו תפארת ולתהילה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלחקים מקור הברכה מראש מקדם. נשוכה סוף מעשה ומחשבה תחילה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי כי באורך, קומי אורי, שיר דברי כבוד אדוני, עלייך נגלה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת פלה גם בשמחה, וצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה. לך אדוני לקקלה, עיני שבת נקבלה.
Turn to those around you, wish them a Shabbat Shalom. Let them know you're glad they're here. We continue now on page 26 with the Chatzi Kaddish as we remain standing through the Shema.
יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי. בחייכון וביומכון ובחייתכו בית ישראל. בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהי שמירה במבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה. תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
Page 28.
Barechu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed. Yaida, 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 Yaida.
We continue on page 30 with Mariv Aravim as we praise God for the gift of creation. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim b'chokhmah poteah sha'arim uvitvuna meshane etim umachalif et hazmanim umisader et hakochavim b'mishmerotehem barakia kirtzono borei yom v'layla golel or mipnei choshech v'choshech mipnei or uma'avir yom umevi layla umavdil ben yom uvein layla Adonai Tzavaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Imloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 33, we read responsively. Wisdom and wonder, passion and instruction, story and symbol.
All these things your Torah gives to us.
And the more we devote ourselves to it, the more it grows and gives.
What could be truer token of your abiding love
than this holiest of your works and the living language that gives it form? Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kivon Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
You may be seated as we continue chanting on page 36.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
On the top of page 39, we read together. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נדר בקודש. נורא הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, זה אלי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש, מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטר בקודש. נורא
on page 43, on page 43, on the bottom, we read together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into shelter in the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare for us as we return. Spread over us your shelter of peace, over all we love, over our Jerusalem and yours. Baruch atah Adonai, hapurei sukat shalom aleinu, v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim. Page 44. We thank God for the gift of rest that arrives every Shabbat, V'shamru.
V'shameru b'nei Yisrael et השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל עוד היא לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש.
We rise for the tefillah on page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agid ilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Koneh Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot v'Imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo B'Ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh kol atarav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayem emunato, Lishenei afar, Mi hamocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah le'achayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kdoshim b'chol yom yalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
You may be seated. On page 55. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. and may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. On the bottom of 57, we read together. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otecha levadecha b'yirah na'avod. Page 59. God of goodness, we give thanks for the gift of life, wonder beyond words, for the awareness of soul, our light within, for the world around us so filled with beauty, for the richness of the earth which day by day sustains us. For all these and more, we offer thanks. Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. And on page 61, we share together in Birkat Shalom, our prayer for peace. Grant us peace, your most precious gift, O eternal source of peace, and give us the will to proclaim its message to all the peoples of the earth. Bless our country as a safeguard of peace, its advocate among the nations. May contentment reign within our borders, health and happiness within our homes. Strengthen the bonds of friendship and fellowship among all the inhabitants of every land. Plant virtue in every soul. And may the love of your name hallow every home and every heart. Praised are you, Eternal One, who blesses our people with peace. Baruch atah Adonai, hamevarech et amo Yisrael, b'shalom. Having offered prayers for peace in our world, we offer prayers now for those who seek peace in their lives, healing and wholeness of body, mind, and spirit. If there's someone in your life in need of healing who you hold in your heart or is on your mind, I invite you to think about them. Picture them, close your eyes if you wish, and whisper their names out loud. And we link the names of those who are in our order of service and your service supplement or on our screen on live stream to offer our prayers for those people in our community in need of healing, along with those who are in our own hearts. And so, strengthened by each other's presence, we offer prayers of healing together. The words for Misha Berach can be found on page 253.
Berach avotenu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. We take a few moments now for our own personal thoughts and prayers for peace.
Sha'arei Tzedek, Pitchu li Sha'arei Tzedek, Avovam Odeya, Avovam Odeya. Yai di di dai, yai dai nai nai nai, yai di di dai, yai dai dai, yai di di dai, yai dai dai nai nai, yai dai dai, yai dai nai dai. Pitchu li Sha'arei Tzedek, Pitchu li Sha'arei Tzedek, Avovam Odeya, Avovam Odeya.
It's been decades since I tuned into Saturday Night Live, or SNL as it's now called, on a regular basis. Partly because it's on too late, even in the Central Time Zone, and partly because I don't actually find it that funny anymore. I prefer to watch the amusing parts on YouTube or Instagram with my daughter after the fact. So I wasn't really paying attention to the fact that Dave Chappelle, a brilliant, acerbic, and often controversial comedian, was going to host last week. Chappelle was already being criticized sharply for homophobic, transphobic comedy on a recent Netflix special. But the Jewish community certainly seemed to be caught by surprise when he launched into a 15-minute monologue devoted mostly to how unfashionable it is these days to say anything that might be construed as overtly anti-Semitic. Dave Chappelle is a very talented man, and he made some astute observations about double standards regarding who can say what. For instance, Fox News' Tucker Carlson, who is white, gets a pass on his buzzword anti-Semitism, while Kanye West and Kyrie Irving face consequences. And while I was personally offended by Chappelle's routine, I agree with comedian Jon Stewart when he said, "I don't believe that censorship and penalties are the way to end anti-Semitism or to gain understanding." What upset me most, what hurt my heart, and gave me a stomachache was the laughter and the applause. ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt said it well in a tweet. We shouldn't expect Dave Chappelle to serve as society's moral compass, but it's disturbing to see NBC SNL not just normalize, but popularize anti-Semitism. Why are Jews' sensitivities denied or diminished at almost every turn? Why does our trauma trigger applause? Why does our trauma trigger applause? Bigotry has always been and will always be everywhere. It is our natural inclination to distrust people who do not share our traditions or outlook, our color, or our culture. It is a reality of human history and a devastating result of free will. Yet, it's also our holy responsibility to look for the godly spark in all other human beings, to seek commonality, to learn from other people's traditions and culture, to respect differing outlooks, to trust our neighbors as ourselves. even though it seems that the Jewish people have experienced more than our fair share of distrust. In this week's Torah portion, Chaye Sarah, we learn of Sarah's death, see Abraham mourn her passing, and then negotiate with the Hittites to purchase a burial site. He says, Ger v'toshav anochi, I am a sojourner, a settler with you. Grant me a burial holding with you, and let me bury my dead now before me. Robert Alter explains that by using this phrase, Ger v'toshav anochi, Abraham is announcing his vulnerable legal status. Even though he and his descendants have been promised the entire land by God, Abraham understands that as a sojourner settler, or resident alien to use a more common translation, that he is reliant on the generosity and the goodwill of the Hittites. He acknowledges he is not one of them. He wants them to know that he knows that he is the other. Abraham has faced such vulnerability before. In Egypt, where he and Sarah go to escape famine, in his battles with the 4 kings to rescue his nephew Lot, and when they sojourn in Gerar. Each time, he has found success, good fortune, and protection. But he's always vulnerable. He is always reliant on God's protection and the goodwill of others. When we zoom out and consider Abraham's story with a wide lens, we see how much his story is the story of the Jewish people. How we have been compelled, sometimes by force, sometimes by circumstance, to seek out new lands and new opportunities. How Jewish people have found ways to make something of nothing. How individual successes have been met with suspicion, envy, and too often hate, explained away by anti-Semitic tropes that put forth tales of a unified Jewish power structure in the world. In Parashat Chaye Sarah, Abraham's experience with the Hittites is positive. They are respectful, sympathetic, and generous. Ephron offers him a field and a cave as a gift, and Abraham insists on paying full price and does so before burying his wife in the cave of the field of Machpelah. But I've always felt that part of this biblical tale is a cautionary one. In this case, the non-Jews treated the Jew in their midst kindly. We should be grateful, but we should never take it for granted. Why have so many people hated Jews for so long and in so many places? Dr. Deborah Lipstadt, in her book, Anti-Semitism Here and Now, articulates our frustration. It is hard, if not impossible, to explain something that is essentially irrational, delusional, and absurd, she writes. That is the nature of all conspiracy theories, of which anti-Semitism is just one. Anti-Semitism has not only remained impervious to erasure, but it has also morphed and evolved throughout history into what she calls a toxic brew of race, religion, politics, and pseudoscience. Today, we continue to see these ideas expressed on both the left and the right. It can feel hard to know which way to turn or truly trust anybody, but that is no way to live, especially in a place like San Antonio, which is by and large respectful, curious, and protective of our Jewish community. We need tools to express ourselves, to stand up for ourselves, and educate others against irrational hate. That's what our 8th through 11th graders have been doing over the last month or so. Our social justice coordinator, Ross Halfant, and Billy Bloomberg, our director of youth programming and informal education, have been leading them through a pilot program of the URJ and the ADL called Act Against Anti-Semitism, along with some of the members of our ACT committee. ACT committee stands for Advocacy Combined with Tikkun Olam, in case you wanted to know. Over 4 weeks, they explored anti-Semitism in the greater context of biased behaviors and conspiracy theories, and they applied it to their own lives and experiences. Learning about the ADL's pyramid of hate, which demonstrates how biased behaviors grow in complexity and consequence over time. They invited their non-Jewish friends to participate in a program discussing anti-Semitism before presenting their findings and engaging in discussion with their parents. I watched these teen leaders lead their peers through challenging conversations with a mixture of awe, pride, and hope. They have gained tools and language to express how stereotyping, insensitive remarks, and other microaggressions can too easily lead to bullying, ridicule, racial slurs, and other forms of dehumanization. They see how these biased attitudes and acts of bias can lead to discrimination, if not violence, not just against Jewish people, but against any person or group of people that are seen as different or not like-minded. Usually we are trying to protect our kids from these realities, one father said. It's disconcerting to hear them do the talking, but it's also powerful. From this experience, we know they are more likely to be upstanders, speaking up when they witness biased attitudes and behavior. They are less likely to stand by or look the other way. I wish that Lorne Michaels and the producers and writers of SNL had told Dave Chappelle that blaming the Jews for the repercussions Kanye West and Kyrie Irving are experiencing for their blatant anti-Semitic behavior was not an appropriate topic for Saturday Night Live. I wish they had explained to him that it's always a mistake to generalize about any community and conclude that individual people represent their group for good or for bad. And I wish that just one person had found the courage last Saturday night to stand up and say to Dave Chappelle, "That's not funny." Because, as NPR culture reporter Eric Deggans wrote, yes, comedy isn't a news report, but if we're going to elevate particularly skilled performers like Chappelle, because there's a sense their work also contains powerful truths about society and life, then we also have to note when they offer material that does the opposite and obscures an issue, which should be cut and dried. The powerful and sobering truths that I took away from SNL last week are that it's perfectly okay to laugh at jokes about the Jews, that bigoted stereotypes about how we control the entertainment industry, fashion, banking, and more not only still exist, but are still widely held. And that while we should always be able to laugh at ourselves, when jokes, no matter how clever, are used to place entire religions or communities in a box rather than expose the inconsistencies and absurdities of life, they'll never be funny. Dave Chappelle is correct. It shouldn't be this hard to talk about things. So we should talk about Jewish trauma and Black trauma. We can even talk about the ways that specific Jewish people have acted unjustly towards Black people, and the ways that specific Black people have done the same to Jews. And we should share in dialogue and community building to make our world a better and safer place for everyone. And we should never be afraid to stand up against biased speech, no matter where or when we hear it. We should never be afraid to say, "It's not funny." Amen. We turn to page 283 for the concluding portion of our service. Aleinu, please rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא שם חלקנו לייחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom ahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
You may be seated. As we prepare to join together in the Mourner's Kaddish, I offer meditation number 6 on page 291 by Rabbi Richard Levy. It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and naught but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in the company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. And affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one, whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, and whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. On this Shabbat, we consecrate the yard sites observed in our congregation this week of Milton Barnett, Saul Belasco, Ed Bormaster, Evelyn Breslow, Ralph Carruthers, Sarah Levy Chaffis, Gussie Cohen, Hildegard Levy Cohen, Harry D. Coyne, Leon Collins, Esther K. Dalkowitz, Lillian Goldman Davis, Sally Eisenstein, Sarah Bergman Feller, Norman Fink, Abe B. Friedman, Michael Gagnon, Lieutenant Colonel John W. Gilbo, Sarah Glass, Alfred Goodman, Alvin Gottlieb, Robert Greenberg, Rosa Grinman, Florence Groden, Arthur Gurevich, Alan Teddy Hirschfield, Emil Z. Horner, Faye Horwitz, Rosalind Horwitz, Eddie Julius, Fred Cabby, Sylvia Kaplan, Jaime Karatkin, Helen Jeffrey Kelsaw, Eileen Crandell, Nancy Drake Letty, Anne Louise Leeds, Alphonse Lehman, Aeneas Gomez Mills, Tommy Moss, Thomas Martin Newhouse, Sylvia Newmark, Sanford Pasternak, Max Pepper, Zelda Pullen, Florence Ratner, Arthur Raufman, Cleo Reimers, Dick Rosenthal, Gorman Silen, Maurice Maury Simon, Stephanie Simon, Shirley Singer, Sydney Stein, Adele Wise Stern, Adelaide Stover, Harry Trodlier, Madeline Corrine Ware, Lillian Welsh, Janice L. Williams, and Lillian Willinger. To their names, we link the names of 4 who in the last 30 days Shloshim have been laid to their eternal rest. We remember Edward Hardy, Betsy Merjani, Zelda Seiden, and Dr. Leonard Seidner. Zichronam Livracha, may their memories be for blessing, along with the memories of those that we hold in our own hearts every day. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as we rise as one congregation, turning to page 294 to share in the Kaddish together. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabbah, ve'almad divrach cherutei v'yamlech malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'yizman karev v'yamru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivarach le'olam omei omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rechu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiram ve'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say, amen. You may be seated. Tonight, we were honored to have our Jewish Federation of San Antonio sponsor our pre-Shabbat Oneg, and we're so delighted to have leaders from Federation here today. So it's my pleasure to invite up Nami Ichalov, CEO of Jewish Federation of San Antonio, to offer greetings and share a few words.
Good evening, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. So, sitting in the congregation and hearing the rabbi's words, it's hard to not admit that I am here as a immigrant who was given religious freedom 35 plus years ago to come to the United States. I grew up in a country and a time when my brother, myself, and 7 other Jewish children in our small community were the different ones. I didn't really know what it was to be Jewish because my parents were very secular, but we knew we certainly weren't Christians. And knowing that you weren't something meant that you were something else. And my journey has taken me for all these years that is now destined to be here today with all of you. My brother, who is today about 5'10", 5'11", about 100 pounds heavier than me. When we were children, he was still bigger than me. But unlike most childhood experiences, the smallest ones weren't the ones picked on when we were younger. To prove a point, the children in our school picked on my brother, because if they could prove that they could handle the strongest and biggest one, then they could control all of us. I remember when we were about middle schoolish, my brother was held down on the playground and forced to eat pork, just to prove that lightning wouldn't strike. But that wasn't enough to be able to bring us to the United States, although my parents petitioned for us to be able to come here. It wasn't until one of my classmates, Fiona Stone, her father, who was Shomer Shabbos, was walking home from Shabbat one day, murdered, and on the sidewalk next to his body was a swastika. Fiona, her 2 sisters and mother ended up making Aliyah to Israel and left within the year. That event finally approved our application to come to the United States in 1984. You'd think from the story that I told you I was living in some kind of a third world country that persecuted the Jewish people. It was Great Britain. It hasn't been until this year that I haven't really shared that story since moving to the United States, because not until this year did I think that things like this could happen in this country. I have to stand here and admit a little bit that I was probably part of the problem and not the solution. Because up until this year, when there would be incidental anti-Semitism around me, I sort of just chalked it up to, oh, they're too ignorant. It's really not worth starting a fight with them, calling them out, making a point. However, as the rabbi just mentioned, if we don't do it, whenever we have the opportunity, whenever we have the chance, even when it's small, incidental, ignorant, unintentional, we are part of the problem. I stand here as the President and CEO of the Jewish Federation of San Antonio with a mission to bring our community together, to plan for our community here in San Antonio, and to secure the resources for a sustainable Jewish community of San Antonio. That's our mission. We work with all the synagogues, with all the other Jewish agencies to partner together to keep a vibrant and active and wonderful Jewish community here. On behalf of the Jewish Federation, I want to thank the rabbi, the leadership of Temple Beth-El, and all of you here this evening, physically and virtually. Without you, we couldn't build a community. Without you, we couldn't be proud, publicly proud in our Judaism. We are living through these strangest times today. I don't know what the future holds, but what I do know is, after 30-something years, I've finally learned my lesson. And it's not just against Jews when things happen, it's whenever things happen against any group, any person or any individual. And that is the commitment of the Jewish community, that is the commitment of the Jewish Federation, that is the commitment of the Jewish Community Relations Council that works with our community at large. So today, I stand as a witness to the rabbi's words, and we did not plan this. But I stand here on behalf of the Jewish community, on behalf of the Jewish Federation, thanking all of you for giving us the opportunity to be here. Shabbat Shalom.
I'd like to now invite up the President of our congregation, Debbie Ruse, to share some greetings and announcements for our congregation as well.
I'd like to welcome everyone. I'm so glad that you could be in our sanctuary or at home in your own sacred space. My dad once told me that there were 3 jobs I should never take. 1, school board president. 2, president of a homeowners association. And 3, any guesses? Temple president. I've been in the role for about 6 months, and I will say this. I now get my hair colored every 4 weeks instead of every 6. I have a ton of temple meetings, and I lose quite a bit of sleep thinking about, strategizing, and yes, praying about this incredible congregation of ours. However, it is far from the worst job I've ever had. That's reserved for my telemarketing days. 6 months in, there are some amazing subtle shifts in our massive organization. Since May, we have welcomed 30 new member families to our temple community. Relatedly, our religious school is teeming with more kids than expected. A few weeks ago, I attended the consecration of trustees, if not the temple president, of the year 2062. And for the first time in years, Temple is seeing a slight uptick in our overall commitment dollars. These indicators are favorable signs that the sleeping giant that is Temple Beth-El is reawakening. It is exciting, but we also have a lot of work ahead of us. Member engagement glues people to Temple and makes the congregation the vibrant home of Reformed Judaism. We are the fun, the intellect, the spirituality, the social action of this place. That engagement takes so many forms. Volunteering to help with an event, signing up for a program you might never have considered before, inviting a friend to Shabbat. I challenge you to glue away. Connect with Temple in one unique way this month and see what impact it has. On the other side of the ledger, 46 member families have generously increased their commitment pledges this year, yet over 900 families have said nothing, yet. Okay, I'm not very subtle. If you have not yet considered your commitment gift, or you lost your letter, or your dog ate it, I invite you to consider Hillel's wisdom. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I am for myself alone, what am I? And if not now, when? We are Temple Beth-El, so our collective financial support comes from those of us in this room, on live stream, and those on our Temple roster. Please know Michael Ringel, our controller, would love to talk to you on Monday. Please also know that our treasurer, Breger Garrison, would love for you to talk to our controller, Michael Ringel, on Monday. Before I began this job, people shared condolences with me about having to attend Friday night services each week as if it were a penitence for accepting this role. 6 months in, I look forward to coming. I look forward to seeing my Temple family, some of whom I've known for years, and some who've kindly adopted Marty and me. I appreciate the embrace of being in our spiritual home, especially after a challenging week, and I look forward to the deep breath I know I will get to take once the Sabbath spirit has settled in. If this is the punishment for being president, I wish it on all of us. I'd like to offer a very special welcome to Rabbi Reuben Sains and his adult Sunday school class from Christ Fellowship United Methodist Church, and thank you to their docent, Hannah Margolis. I'd also like to give a special welcome to Sister Eilish Ryan and her World Religions class from the University in the Incarnate Word, and a special thank you to their docent, Arlene Dreyer. Thank you all to those who participated this evening. And here are some events that are coming up at Temple. On Sunday, December 11th, from 9:30 to 11, please join us for our Sunday Scholar Series with Rachel Stern. This will be part 2 of her What is Real Judaism and Who Gets to Decide? Jewish traditions, rites, and rituals have been in a constant state of evolution from the beginning of time. How do we decide what rituals make sense and which traditional ones might we want to reconsider? RSVPs are requested. Please adopt a family for the holidays. Join us for the first Mitzvah Month event of 2022 on Sunday, December 4th from 12 to 2. Come to Temple, wrap gifts, make cards, and sort packages for each family. Travel with Temple, March 6th through the 16th of 2023. Where, you ask? Israel, on an interfaith trip led by Rabbi Nathan and Reverend Beth Knowlton from St. Mark's Episcopal Church. There will be opportunities to discuss the complex social, religious, political, and security issues of the region. For more information and to register, please go to j2adventures.com. Everything going on at Temple is listed on our website calendar and in your weekly email, which arrives in your inbox around 4 p.m. on Thursday. Shabbat Shalom.
Our closing song is Esa Einai on page 353. Please
339.
rise. 338. 9.
No,
What?
339.
Okay.
Yeah.
339. That's not what it says here.
I know.
Please rise. Okay.
Shamayim va'aretz, Ezri, Me'im Adonai, Oseh Shamayim va'aretz, Esa Einai el Harim, Me'ayin, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri, Esa Einai el Harim, Me'ayin, Me'ayin Yavo Ezri.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat